Welcome to After the Poll, the video series where I take you through the realms of Marvel, DC, Independent, and a couple of classic comics, and I share all my thoughts and opinions with you. I'm Mike Spider-Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content, you like me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, hit that subscribe button. Usually we talk about the number ones on Worthy Ones, which takes place on Thursdays, but since I didn't get a chance to do an episode this week, we're all covering it on this episode of After the Poll. So get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a little bit of a lengthy episode. So have fun, enjoy, and relax. Welcome to the realm of Marvel Comics. Now, out of all the companies this week, I think Marvel had the largest week when it came to comics. Were there any good comics from Marvel? We'll find out soon. Now, just letting you know, it's going to be a little bit of a speed around type of episode as I had a lot of comics to discuss. So the first one we're diving into is Captain America. This is issue 2. Now, this book might not be for everybody because it does take place and you know, there's flashbacks in there of Afghanistan and things like that, and people might not agree with the way certain things are handled in there. We have a different outlook with Captain America on how he is portrayed in this book because he's brought back in the 2000s. So this is like almost like a retelling of his origin. And you have this other guy by the name of Major Colton who might be an adversary of Captain America in the future. So I thought this was a solid book. I did enjoy it, but I don't know if it's going to be for everybody just because of the point of view of like the war that was going on. So I enjoyed it. It was a little slow in the beginning. I gave this one a B-. All right, the next book here is Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. This is issue 3 of 3. Wraps up the series here, and oh my gosh, this third issue was the best of the bunch. Bullseye was an absolute badass in this book, and even though he's much older, he can still hit his target. There's a scene in here where he has a knocked out tooth and he uses it to his advantage here to kind of blow up the city with this poisonous gas. Awesome book. Love the characterization in here. Frank Castle was in here wearing an Iron Man suit. Definitely recommend this one. This was a great conclusion. I'm not always a big fan of the artwork in here, but I gave this one a B+. The next book is always a fun read. That is The Red Hulk. This is issue 7 as we get to learn that Captain Stryker is doing some crazy ass type of experiments on Thunderbolt Ross in this one as he's studying studying his gamma radiation so he can create a different type of army. I love the interactions in this book with Machine Man and Deathlock, who's trying to rescue Red Hulk in here. This is just a fun book, and I think Benjamin Percy writes great comics. I think he just knows what you're looking for in a comic book. I gave this one a solid B. The next one is Wolverine. This is issue 9. Another really good book, again, by Benjamin Percy, as we're trying to find out where this Hell Hulk has gone. The main villain in this book is they're working together, and wherever this Hell Hulk goes, it like takes over I wouldn't want to say the world, but wherever it goes, it definitely causes rage and mayhem across the city. And now it's up to Hero, which is Wolverine in this book, to try to stop them, right? So I think this thing is getting ready to wrap up. I think someone said issue 10. All right. The next book we're talking about here is Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu. This is issue 11. This is kind of like one of those in-between story arcs as we're celebrating Mark Spector's birthday. And in this book, you wind up getting to see what happens to the Midnight Mission in the book. And it was a very touching story as they're telling the story to a party member. Because, again, this party member was invited to Mark Spector's birthday. And it was good. It was a touching story. Maybe not the regular artists in here. Kind of gets you caught up with all the characters. I gave this one a B. The next book here is Ultimate Wolverine. This is issue 8 as we get to see, like I said in my haul, a solid series, and I would say the best X-Men series that you will have written, or you have read. It's just not called X-Men, right? And in this book, you wind up getting to see a little bit of the new Angel in here, and we just get to see all our different types of characters work together when it comes to the X-Men. This one was awesome. I gave this one an A. The next book we're talking about here is the Unavailable, I think it's called, Gwenpool. This is issue 4. It's just titled Gwenpool issue 4. So this one is just like an okay story for me. It's nothing great. We wind up getting to learn about, is it X31? I think that's what she is now, or is it X32 where we're at? And we learn like where this Gwen Stacy has come from. Basically, she is a clone of a clone, right? And she's not the real Gwen Stacy. Everyone, I think, saw that. And you get to see this Gwenpool infect different people, like possesses other people because she died in the last issue and she possessed Spider-Man in here. It's just one of those things where you take it or leave it. It's not necessary to read. It's all right. I gave this one a C. This was, I would say, probably my more surprising pick this week, and this is One World Under Doom. This is issue 6, as we get to see Dr. Doom and Mr. Fantastic face off against each other in a debate. And if they can, whoever wins this debate actually winds up becoming or ruling, I don't know, or taking back the Emperor Doom's powers, or taking back the Earth the way they see fit, right? So Reed gets in a debate with Dr. Doom, and you would think that Dr. Doom is actually really dominating this debate, and you're like, oh yeah, there's no way Reed is going to win this debate. And then what happens is his allies come across what has given Emperor Doom all his power, all his magic, and it's just very dark. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I did not see this coming, and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, we finally got to an issue where it actually means something. Is it too little? Is it too late for the series? Did people jump off from this? But nevertheless, if you stuck with it, I think you will enjoy this issue because it is disturbing by the time you get to the end of it. I want to give this one an actual A. All right. And then we wind up getting to the Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue 9. So when it comes to this book, we see Spider-Man get his ass kicked against Hellgate, and he's trying to recover. And this almost goes back to more of a classic type of Spider-Man tale where he's not giving up being Spider-Man, but he's trying to figure out a way to pick up the pieces and to continue to be Spider-Man, right? But what also made this book really good was the end. He confronts Mary Jane, and Mary Jane reveals a dark secret to him. And at the end, you're just like, oh, dang, Peter. And he just walks away from her. And you're just like, wow. So even though maybe the artwork wasn't the best, it was a really good story. Very little Spider-Man in here. This one was probably one of the better Spider-Man stories that I have read. I gave this one an A. And then, if you are a fan of Paul beatdowns in this series, right, this is it. This is the series for you. All new Venom. This is issue 9. We get to see the outcome of what's going on with Venom, Roxxon, all the other symbiotes. But once that is kind of done and over with, we finally get to see Mary Jane bring the axe down to Paul. And just seeing those pages was just great, because you wind up seeing Paul going, oh, I'm sorry, MJ. I'm sorry for doing all these bad things, and I can be better. And MJ's just like, no, we're freaking done. We're done. That's it. It's over. And I was like, yes, it's finally, hopefully over. And just because of that, I wound up giving this one the top pick of the week, because I think all fans, whether Mary Jane and Peter Parker get together again, they don't want to see freaking Paul. They don't want to see Paul being involved with Mary Jane. That's just like a dagger in the heart altogether. And I really like that aspect of it. So just for that, I'm giving it an A+. And just like that, you are in the realm of DC Comics. It's good to have some DC Comics to talk about this week, because in a few previous weeks, there wasn't that much out from DC. Now, obviously, they don't come out with nearly as many titles as Marvel does, but there was some good titles this week. First one we're talking about is the newest one, Cheetah and Cheshire issue 1. Now, I don't think I know anything about the character of Cheshire, right? I don't even know if I'm saying the name right, if anything. But I do know Cheetah, right? And in this book, it was kind of more of a setup issue because basically, when you have Cheetah and Cheshire together, you see Cheetah who wants to actually rob the Justice League. And when you read this, you find out what they want to rob from them. And it's basically their powers. So supposedly they have their powers locked up in this box. And if you steal this box, right, you can pretty much sell this to anybody that you want. And these two can make a fortune of it, right? So I thought that was pretty interesting premise. It was a huge setup. It was a lot of them talking or sitting in a diner. There wasn't a lot of action in there. So you're going to have to read issue 2 to figure out, okay, do I want to continue this going forward? So this was all right. I gave it a C+ to be determined. Next book is Poison Ivy. This is issue 35. Now, when it comes to Poison Ivy this week, there was a lot of talking, a lot of setup going on, I guess, for maybe possibly the next story arc or whatnot. But we wind up seeing Pamela and the gardener come face to face with each other here. Pamela kind of coming to terms of what to do next, who's going to be the next leader of the group in here. And we see Poison Ivy do something very dark to her in this book. And you're just kind of like, oh, dang, Poison Ivy hasn't done anything. I would think that I would say sinister or cruel or mean to a character in such a long time. The artwork continues to be stellar in this one. And so even though this one was a little bit of a slower read, the payoff was pretty huge at the end. And I wound up giving this one a solid B. All right. The next book we're talking about is Absolute Green Lantern. This is issue 5. Wow. This one, guys, was a fun read this week. But every time you do read Green Lantern or Absolute Green Lantern, it's always a quick read. It's just like there's not a lot of dialogue in there, but it hits you very heavy, and you wind up getting to see the continuing battle between Black Hand, Hal Jordan, and Joe Mullins, who seems to be the preferred Green Lantern here. Seems like she is the main one. And you kind of get to see the origin story here of what you missed in previous issues on how he became the Black Hand, and then all of a sudden she becomes the Green Lantern here. And you wind up getting introduced to Hector Hammond in this book, and he's kind of a jerk, right? So yeah, if you want to see the continuing origin story of Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and Joe Mullins, check this out. The last page, wow, we got introduced to a Yellow Lantern as well. So definitely a cool book. I gave this one a solid A. This one was really good. My only problem with it is it reads so freaking fast, right? And in this one, this other DC book that we're talking about is Absolute Superman. This is issue 10. This just continues to be one of my favorite Absolute books. There's just so much story here. We get more of Ra's in this book, as he is the leader of the Lazarus Corps, and we also get introduced to another character in this book that you didn't see coming because she was hidden behind a mask. And if you read it, you know what I'm talking about. I really enjoyed that as well. And we get to see Lois continue to try to pretend that she's like the bad guy, but she is the good guy in here. Just all things come to a head here, and you get Brainiac in this book. There's just a lot going on. I think we get a different artist in this book, or a different inker. The art seemed different this time around, and then we do still get a little bit of the flashback stuff that went on in Krypton as well, because we get to focus on Clark, on like whether he's gonna go past that boundary of killing people, right? You can see that he's very much on the brink of just destroying somebody or killing somebody, and what he could do to somebody, but he doesn't cross that line. And that's what makes it so good, man. Oh my God, top pick, A+ for me when it comes to Absolute Superman. And then we got Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong issue 2. This is just one of those fun books if you want to read just an alternate story when it comes to your favorite DC characters. The fun thing that I get out of this one is Superman being challenged. He's deep under the cavern. He's fighting all these different types of Kong monsters. And if he doesn't get out of there, he's going to lose his superpowers because the sun can't penetrate the cavern, right? And you get to see how much tenacity he has, how determined he is to escape from this cave, right? And Lex Luthor, being the ass that he is, he just kind of leaves him there. And we get to see Flash in this book. We get to see Batman in this book. So this one was pretty good. I wound up giving this one a B. And welcome to the indie realm. That's right, guys. We got some indies to talk about this week. And the first one we're talking about is Return to Skull Island. This is issue 1. This is done by Titan, and this is one of those books that hasn't come out. It was supposed to come out like weeks ago, and due to the whole Diamond bankruptcy thing, it was delayed. And unfortunately for me, this did not pay off. What you see on the cover here, that's what you would want to see in the artwork inside the book. And for me, it was too cartoony. It didn't deliver on the actual story itself. So for me, this week, it was just kind of a pass. It's like almost a story where it was very forgettable. It was one of the first books I read because I was looking forward to it, but it just didn't deliver for me. So unfortunately, I wound up giving this one a C. All right, the next book we're talking about here is Mad Caves, Orla. This is issue 1. So this is a book about a woman who is looking for love, but obviously can't find it because it's not the males that she's looking for. And obviously this book is about maybe it pushes the boundary of your stereotypical male, how people can be assholes, how they can't treat women right, they're just after sex, the old school way of I need to pay, I need to be the dominant man. And so when she gets stressed out or doesn't like certain men, she turns into this monster and she eats him, right? And in this issue, she actually comes across a possible mate in the future that's actually attracted to her for quite a long time. Does she go on this date in the future because she's afraid, well, what happens if he's a guy that I don't get along with and then I have to eat him, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, if you're a guy, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like, are we making men like this, very stereotypical, like all men are like this, like pigs? I don't know. I was kind of like on the fence about this book, but not all guys are assholes, right? So maybe she does find her Prince Charming and this guy turns out to be the one she's looking for. And yeah, we'll see what happens with it. I might give it a second issue, but I gave this one kind of a C. It was just like, it was the imperfect woman, but then you got this perfect guy. I don't know. It was kind of weird. I gave it a C, but I might give it another try, All right, the next book that we're going to talk about is Blink and You'll Miss It. This is issue 1. Yeah, I read it, and this is totally, this is very fitting for me. This was like a blank, and I don't even know what I read. This was one of those books where there was so little dialogue in the story that I couldn't even get what was going on. You get a character that shows up who was, I guess, in a town at one time, and the next thing you know is she comes back to the same town. Nothing has changed, but she's much older. And then she comes across her friend, which is this girl right here. Same thing. She thinks she's died, and now she's come back into the same town, and she's older. They met in a diner, and that's kind of all that happens. And I'm kind of like, what is this book about? It's about two ladies who show up in a diner. Sounds like a freaking joke. And it's just like, and they go out with each other. I'm like, I don't even know. So it's just like kind of this one of these books where I was like, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to go forward to it. There was nothing there that really was interesting for the story. There was nothing there that was interesting in the story that I was like, oh, I got to check it out. And there was nothing there for the characters that really caught my eye either. I was just like, man, the characters are boring. The story is boring. There's just nothing there. So I decided that I'm not going to continue with it, unfortunately. All right, next book we're talking about, Something is Killing the Children, issue 43. I tell you, man, this book is kind of just like, it's losing me right now. It's not a story that I'm going to drop, but right now the story just, there's nothing going on, right? It's just like, okay, we're in this hotel. We got Jessica and Erica Slaughter trying to investigate. They found this girl who's covered in blood. And this girl just tells them, yeah, I seen the monsters. And Erica is just kind of like, yeah, you know, the monster's getting stronger. And they collect this girl for questioning. And I mean, that's like really it. That's all that's really going on in the story. And, you know, we're 3 issues in since this book has come back, and nothing has really happened in here to make you go, man, I need to continue this book. And if you're on a budget, like, your money is really, really tight right now because these books are so expensive. And if you're like, yeah, nothing's happened and Something is Killing Children, I'm going to drop this, right? But I'm in it for the long haul. I've read every single issue, so I want to see how it continues to develop. Let's hope it gets better, because right now, this is a story that I'm not enjoying, and this is kind of like Erica Slaughter's origin story, you know? So, I don't know. I gave this one a C. It was very slow this time around. The most disappointing book for me, and I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me on this, is Cruel Universe. This is issue 1. Now, this is an anthology, like sci-fi horror type of style of book, right? But this book is very on the nose about delivering its messages and political stuff, right? Now, it might make sense because it says Cruel Universe, and Earth is part of that cruel universe, right? And so there's a couple of different stories in here where it touches on racism, right? Where it's just so on the nose, where it's like I get it, right? But, and I get that racism still happens, but I don't know do I really want that message delivered in my comic book, right? Like, where it's so on the nose. And then there's another story in here that has to deal with a dolphin. And it's just like, there's a live stream going on about people, you know, communicating with dolphins, and the dolphins in captivity. And then at the end, the people wind up getting murdered while they're doing a live stream. And then the people are like, the dolphins are free, they're released. And it's kind of like harping on SeaWorld's type of thing, where they keep animals in captivity and stuff like that. And if you believe in that, that's fine. Like, I don't have an issue with that. But again, I don't need that political message in my comic book, right? And then there was another story where civilization winds up going into space, and there was a disease that happened on Earth, and they had to go into space. The story, I forgot, the story was written by Greg Pak, and the art was done by Charlie Adlard, who does The Walking Dead. And that one was okay. That was like my favorite story out of the 4. And the other one was a story that took place, it was a reprint story, right? So out of the 3 main stories, the one that had to deal with an apocalypse was the best one. And because it didn't really touch on it, like the political side of things. So that's what was disappointing. Now, I don't know if it will continue to be like that. Do I give it a second try? But I want to know in the comments below how you felt, if you read this, if you agree with me or not. So I just wound up giving this one like a D for that, because it's just like 1 out of 3 stories took me away to a different place. The other one was just some political message being delivered right on the nose to me. And I just don't like that. All right. And then we got Sisterhood from Hyde Street. This is issue 2. This book was actually a lot of fun. I really liked the second issue of this. We wind up getting to see these 2 girls that are best friends, right? One wind up trying to join a sorority. She winds up getting killed during the rush, and the girls kind of brush it off, and the sorority in this issue winds up keep going on. And so what happens in this issue is we see the best friend trying to join the sorority to actually get revenge for her best friend's death. Now, what happened in the first issue is she winds up going to see a tarot reader to find out what happens to her best friend. And because of that situation, her best friend comes up in like reflections and mirrors and stuff like that. And it's kind of cool. And her best friend's telling her to go to the sorority and do the rush and to do all these different things. So very creepy, very dark. You got to read it. Really good book. Top pick for me, A+ when it comes to the Sisterhood Hyde Street story. Can't do any wrong there. Then we have Cul-de-sac. This was my predicted book to be a sleeper pick for the week. And dude, I just didn't like it. It was just kind of weird. The artwork was all right, but it had that old school style print, and it just, I don't know, it was just weird. It was like some vampire story mixed in with some gangster stuff, and it was about some kids finding out who they are for the first time, like there's some kind of vampire, and I just thought it was going to be this different type of story altogether. It was just kind of weird for me. I just didn't get into it. I tried reading it in like 3 different occasions. The third occasion, I finally read through it, and I'm like, I hate this for some reason. Like, I don't like it. Like, it was just, I don't know, man. I don't know what it was. Just couldn't get into it. I wound up giving that one also a D. So yeah, did not like it, unfortunately. And now you're in the classic realm. And for the classic realm this week, believe it or not, with all of the regular books that I read, we got 2 classic comics to talk about. And the first one we're going to talk about, and this is great because I'm showing you the stuff, even though if these books could be worth money, I'm pulling them out of the bags and boards, and I want to show you, right? So the first one we're talking about here is Marvel Chiller's Tigra, the Werewoman issue 4. Here we get to see Tigra on the cover. We get to see Kraven the Hunter. That's why I picked this one out of my short boxes, because I was like, oh, Kraven's in there. I want to see the battle at hand when it comes to these. This book was made in 1976. So here is your artwork of what you can expect. There's your classic ads in this book. And when I read this book is got it all going on. The smells, oh yeah, man, I'm telling you, dude, this is classic smells. And then here is the artwork with Kraven, and Greer is her name, right? And this story is right around the time of when Tigra first came out. So this introduces her, kind of like her origin story, how she was married and how she was killed and she was brought back to life. And in this story, she goes back to the university to find out the secrets at hand on, you know, why she was brought back to life and things like that, right? And in the book, you also get introduced to Kraven the Hunter in here on how he wants to go after this hunt because he wants the power of the cat so he can take on any adversary. And again, as you go through this issue, you get to see all these great, wonderful old school ads. But I thought the best ad of them all in this comic was a pre-order form. And let me see if I can find this, of Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. Look at that right there, guys. That is so cool, right? I mean, come on. We just got facsimile editions. We got the announcement of Marvel vs. DC, and I come across a pre-order form of that. Oh, that was so cool. But overall, seeing the battle between Tigra and Kraven was really good in this arena, and seeing Tigra go almost completely, like I would say, Wolverine Berserk mode in here was awesome. So this was a great blast from the past. I would recommend these old school Tigra comics, and I gave that one an A, dude. Like, it took me like 25 minutes to read it, but it is so much fun. But you want to talk about a book that took me a long time to read, and this one is The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue 282, celebrating 25 years of Marvel. Now, I most recently got this at the shop the other day, and I was like, oh, if I have time, I'm going to read this and talk about it on After the Poll. And I am so happy I read this, because this reminds me of how good Spider-Man actually was, right? You read this, and this story, just in 2 panels alone, is more than almost an entire comic book of what you read in the Amazing Spider-Man series. It is great. There is so many story plots. This book was made in 1986, right? You get to see advertisements of like Bonkers candy, chocolate. You wind up getting to see, I think it was a Dungeons and Dragons ad in this one here too. But here we get to see more of the artwork in here. You got Mary Jane in this book, and we have Spider-Man who's in the black suit. J. Jonah Jameson, Robbie Robertson's in this book. And what happens in this book is Peter Parker winds up getting his ass beat in the last issue based off of what you read here. And I didn't feel lost at all. They just recap everything. And he is just knocked out in his apartment. There's this crazy thing going on with Flash Thompson as he is considered the Hobgoblin, and he's in jail. And we're trying to get lawyers and people to bail him out and to plead his case that he's innocent. So you got that storyline going on. Meanwhile, you get X Factor, who at this point in time in the X Factor history, they're only around, I would say, issue 6 or 7. They get hired by J. Jonah Jameson to actually go after Spider-Man in this book and to discover if he's a mutant or not, because that's why X Factor is around, is to find mutants and to rehabilitate them and find them to help them use their powers. And J. Jonah gives them $50,000 to go find Spider-Man to get him off the streets, because obviously he's a menace. So you gotta love that. But all the interactions between all the supporting cast members of everybody in here is what makes this comic book. And this is what we've been harping on as Spider-Man fans forever, is not only Spider-Man, but the supporting cast. And I think that's why we love Ultimate Spider-Man so much. But seeing the original X-Men in here was great. Seeing all their powers in here was really great as well. And this was just fun because you wind up getting to see how strong Peter is, how much he's willing to sacrifice himself, even when he's hurt, for the greater good, is so well done. And in this book too, I think I pointed this out in the last issue of Wolverine and Spider-Man, how he got stabbed and he's like, oh, I got stabbed in the gut, it hurts. Well, in this book, he got hurt in the head and he's like, my head hurts, my head hurts. He must say that like 20 times in this comic book. But again, it's just really good to see the length that he goes through to help save Jean Grey. Absolute gem of a comic book. A+ top pick. I absolutely would recommend this read any day of the week. And there you guys have it. There are all my thoughts and opinions on Marvel, DC, Independence, the classics. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, guys, I'm going to leave you more content right here for you to click on. Support those local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always read your comics so we can have great comic conversation. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye.